Alright guys, welcome back to the Mouthful with Marcus. Today we've got none other than the Colin Fassnidge, a celebrity chef here in Australia who's known very well for his roles on My Kitchen Rules, Better Homes and Gardens, and I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. So as you'd guess, the episode is jam-packed.
Kids need to learn that you have to fail. And failing is good because the feeling you get when you fail is you don't want to repeat that again.
What the show never showed you is on their way to their seat, bop, smack Marcus in the head. And then I'd go to duck and then Colin would bop, smack me in the head all
And
the
then
time.
we had Sonia Marcus's mum chatting us up. And then we would just lean into that and he hated that. Big shout out to mum. Don't do what you're told. The only reason I did well is because I questioned everything. Just because someone says that's the way it has to be done, I go, nah, I'm going to do it the other way.
And that's that. So make sure to follow the page and enjoy. Thanks guys.
Testing.
Colin has just sat down from his lunch at Fugazi. You never know when the podcast is going to start, Colin.
We're already rolling. You
Are
see,
we?
you could have tricked me into something, hey?
How do you know that it's rolling? What if I haven't?
Because it's red. We got
Oh,
red.
fuck, it's recording. Okay, never mind. Maybe we should just start with the sweet little, cute little introduction I've written for you.
Go, Marcus.
All right, guys, today we are sitting down with Colin Fassnidge, a renowned chef and business owner here in Australia, known well for his roles on My Kitchen Rules and Better Homes and Gardens. From his early days in Ireland to thriving in Australia, Colin has built a career marked by a dedication to nose-to-tail cooking and a flair for trailblazing in what was once a pretty traditional cooking industry. You liking this so far?
I like that. That's good. It's
Beyond the-
actually killing you to say all this.
Yeah, Colin's not so bad after all, guys. Beyond the TV screen, he's navigated the complexities of the chef world, the struggles of the business world, and most of all, building a family, which is why this episode is going to be jam-packed full of value for you guys. We're going to chat about his journey, the challenges he's faced, and the lessons he's learned along the way. So Colin, sweet baby Jesus, welcome to the podcast.
Marcus, it's good to be back. See, you should let everyone in because Marcus, when we filmed last year, because obviously his name is Marcus, but me and Manu used to wind him up and call him Marcus, and that really annoyed him, so we did it every day.
Not once in a whole series, or not once in a whole season of television was I called my actual name. Speaking of, Colin, I actually brought you a gift.
Oh.
This is for you, speaking of inside jokes. Tell them what you see. What's in there?
It says Barber. Jack the Barber. Does this explode or something?
So, guys, for a bit of context on this one, on the first night I met him, I was like, "Oh my god, this guy's not just a celebrity; he's a real person with really nice hair."
Yeah.
Colin, what hair product do you use? The next time I saw him, the next night, he gave me a wrapped hair wax container that was already half used. So, thought I'd repay the favor.
Thank you. But that was quite nice of me, I thought.
It was.
I gave you my last one.
It's quite sweet, and I
Thank
used
you.
it for the rest of the season.
Till you
Now-
got kicked out.
Correct. Yeah. We're going to get into that. I want to talk to you about your origin story, but at the same time, Colin, I don't want to repeat things that you've already had answers to.
Yep.
So if you don't mind me summarizing your life for in 30 seconds.
Go.
Essentially what I know about you is you started in Ireland, right? You originated there. You came from a family of good cooks. You had a mum that you loved, obviously, was a good cook, taught you how to cook. You decided to try your hand at chef work. You moved your way up. You came to Australia for a holiday, decided to stay. Made a name for yourself with your nose-to-tail cooking, then dabbled in TV, sucked at it a bit, got good at it, and then now you're here.
That's pretty good, actually. That's cut through a lot of shit. That's good.
I've been researching you. The reason I state that is because obviously I want the people who don't know you, which I'm sure a lot of people who are watching do know you.
That's very few, apart from your TikToker mates who need to follow me and get my ranking.
Oh, Colin, I love, so during some of my research, I've loved listening to you saying, "Oh, it's so good when I get 1 million hits, man. It's amazing." Oh, I've said that because I want the people who don't know you to know that what you're saying today is going to be worth their time, right? In the sense of like, you've had a very rich life, very full of experiences and things like that, which is why we're going to try and break it down and extract some value. The first question I wanted to ask is, at what point did you realize cooking would actually be a career choice? I know a lot at the start you mentioned that during the time you became a chef or wanted to become,
12.
It wasn't sexy and it wasn't cool.
It was seen as it was like going down the mines, if you put it like that. It was seen as if you weren't very clever or you weren't very good at school, that was a job you would do. That was a chef's job.
So you're obviously passionate about it, like you said, from 12. At what point did you think, oh, fuck, I can do this as a job?
Like, I never wanted to be an accountant. Obviously, I never was going to be that. My brain wasn't mixed for like, they made me do mechanical drawing, mathematics, all that. My brain doesn't work like that. Like, I don't know if it's a bit dyslexic or whatever, but my brain is not fit for that. So I was more artistic and they made me do mechanical, which is not really good for someone like me because that's your passion. So imagine not being able to do your passion for 5 years But I always knew I wanted to do it. And on the weekends, I worked in restaurants and washed pots and pans, and I loved the lifestyle. And then the minute I left school and I went to proper college, like catering college, I was like, this is for me, man.
You just knew instantly,
I
straight away.
loved it. I knew in school that's what I wanted to do. Either that or be a rock star. So I sort of conquered that now.
Kind of done both. Yeah, there it is. The classic.
But I knew when I got to college, I was like, Bush, this is life. Cooking. Yeah. Imagine cooking I'm like cooking all day. Like, this is what I love.
And then came the rude awakening of the chef industry, the chef way of life back then. I'm sure there's still contention about it now. The next question I have is, can you describe the environment of being trained as a chef back then? I know you've answered this before, but I want to hear it.
Well, there's the environment of being trained as a chef, and then there's the environment of being trained as a Michelin-starred chef, which is next level. This is like your Formula One. So you watch your Drive to Survive. Imagine that in cooking. I've always worked in Michelin-starred kitchens, so that's sort of, I knew, but there's different levels of pain. Like when I worked for Thornton's, that was a 1-star. That was in Dublin, so I did 2.5 years there, and I was the bottom of the pile. I got my ass kicked, but it wasn't that bad because there was only a few of us.
Can you set the scene? I've heard you talk about it almost like an army regiment, and
it is. That's called a brigade, so that's why it's called a brigade. And I've said that before, and people in the army have gone, "It's nothing like the army." I said, "Mate, that's just the wording, right? I'm not whatever." But when I went to work for Raymond Blanc, there was 40 chefs in the kitchen. Wow. And there was physical violence, mental abuse. They didn't care what they did to you because there was always a stream of people coming through.
You're dispendable.
Oh yeah, you were just, you become you become useful, but until then, you're just like, those soldiers they send over the hill to get shot.
You're the first wave.
Yeah, down you go. You're gone. And then the day I started in Le Mans War, 9 guys started, and I was the only one left after 2 weeks.
Last man standing.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay, so obviously you're saying it was hard. You had to work your way up, earn your stripes. That's not stuff that people don't already know, but it's had a big impact on your life. You are what you are now because of it. The question I've got here is, how's it impacted you as a person?
That training. Well, I would say I wasn't a very good cook. I have a good friend who's Justin North, who's the reason I ended up over here, and he was a much better cook than me. I had passion, but I wasn't as good as him, so I had to work twice as hard to get to where he was. But some people had it naturally, and then once I conquered that, then it became natural to me. But I was not, the start wasn't as good.
Do you think that your hard work and resilience over that time where it was a tough, brigade situation, you can apply that work ethic to anything now, which is probably why you've excelled in other verticals?
I think you have to fail to get anywhere. Because I actually did a podcast for a Catholic school the other day, and one of the questions was, if you couldn't fail at anything, and what would it be? And I said, that is just a stupid question because, and it's for kids, this podcast. I was like, kids need to learn that you have to fail, and failing is good because the feeling you get when you fail is you don't want to repeat that again. So if everyone just keeps giving it, you're a winner all the time, that's great, mate. But you need to fail to know what it's like, and you don't want to go back there.
Correct. And it's how you grow. I have the question, do you have any extreme stories from your training days? I've heard something along the lines of you throwing a microwave at someone. That's after you had graduated.
That was in my own kitchen. It was just a very high stress environment. I carried on the training the way I was trained. I wasn't a very nice person. I hadn't had kids yet, so everything was about food. It was just tunnel vision. And I had this Italian guy tell me to fuck off one day, and I fucking lost him, man. Like, I'm not proud of it. I did pick up a microwave. I missed him, and he ran away. But he was like, he shouldn't have, like, he was just a mouthy chef. You don't get mouthy if you're a chef. But I shouldn't have done it, and I did it. And I said, now everyone, but it was in another podcast, so it doesn't matter. But it was out of pure fucking anger and tired. I was working 16 hours a day, every day. My missus was on the floor. There was like, everything was on the line, and then you've got someone who just wants to throw a spanner in the wheel.
Make it hard.
And so nowadays you can't do that, which is good because now my daughter can work in a kitchen, and my daughter works in hospitality now. And
you feel comfortable with that?
Yeah.
That sort of segues me into the next question about the way the industry has changed, and you sort of alley-ooped me here. What are the main changes between today's chef culture and the one that you came up in?
Well, it's a double-edged sword, this one. There's two problems with it, right? The way I was brought up is the only way I knew. And I learned everything I know, right? So it wasn't just cooking. It was mostly cleaning. cleaning and hygiene was. You work in a Michelin-starred kitchen. It's like a surgery. The place is sparkling. So you spend most of your day cleaning. Then you're prepping ingredients. And then like butchery, like breaking down whole, that's where I learned about breaking down whole animals, cows, sheep, prepping all your fish. The fish doesn't come in a bag.
No.
But then again, to do those, the amount of hours it takes to do that, that was the problem. So the hours turned into 16 hours. Like you might learn a trade, but by the end of it, you're like, you're fucked. Your body's fucked.
It sort of reminds me of the stories my nonna tells me about how like, she's done all of the hard work, and because she's an immigrant, right?
Yeah,
she had a very big life full of sacrifice. She did all of that for us, but doesn't want that to repeat the same way, but also it's what made her who she is.
Well, I don't think it's a sacrifice. That was me learning my trade.
Yeah, but at the same time, let's say you say don't be mouthy, right?
Yeah.
Don't be mouthy when you're learning to be a chef. Yeah, I'm working on that.
Because you will still get a clip around the ear, man.
Correct.
I'm telling you that now.
You say don't be mouthy, right? But and the whole value behind that is to, let's say, learn respect.
It's respect.
Correct, right? But then let's say the throwing of microwaves and the way things have changed.
You can't do that.
But you learn. If someone threw a microwave at me, I probably wouldn't be mouthy. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you wouldn't be mouthy, but I'd be in jail because the world has changed. Like, for the good and the bad. Because now, so the chefs can only do 38 hours a week. But that's service is 5 hours a day or 6 hours a day. So when do you learn to prep the fish, the meat? Because now it comes in a box and everything's prepped. So you've sort of lost the artisan of how to, like, because I'm a food nerd. Like, I love food, right? I love prepping food. I love finding food. And now the kids of today are just learning service. So the meat comes in a box portion. The fish is already in portions, which is good, right? But you still need, you're a chef. It's about feeling the fish, the knife going through the bone. That's what it's about. That's, well, for me, I'm in for the full package. But the way it came across those days, it was on for young and old. And that's the way we didn't know any different. Now we know there's another world out there.
So there's good, there's bad, there's things you keep, there's things you get rid of. But what I'm hearing from
training, I think training is what you need, and I'm worried about where the future's going because I don't know who's training kids to fillet fish and break down. Who's taking the time out of their life to do that?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people along the way, you've got a different head chef in every kitchen you've ever worked in, and you take a little piece of that person and sort of build it into you. Like, and a lot of the people who I have fond memories about have taken time out of their life to teach me skills.
Are you saying that the trajectory now for the average chef is a lot of that is skipped because you're going straight from, let's say, cooking school or chef school? Or
they want to be sous chef.
Straight into a restaurant, for example.
Yeah, or they've got the tweezers and they want to be on TV, which pays a lot better. But we just didn't end up on TV. I can cook the shit out of most people in this country, and it's my passion. It's not something I just waffle my way into.
Correct.
Well, I waffled my way into TV, but cooking I didn't.
You are alley-ooping. Honestly, you're gone. I've got this list of questions here, and you're touching. It's good, very good. And my next question is based on your experiences. What advice would you give to the chefs starting in their careers? You've sort of said learn the prep side.
I would learn everything, and I would go to a place where a head chef values you and takes time to teach you skills and is passionate about you carrying on his passion. That's what I'm passionate about is passing it on to the next person so you can pass it on and sort of keep it alive. It's like the whole Italian story or whatever, like the nonnas, and they pass it on, and that's what
some nonnas are shit though, right, Colin?
Shit. Not the story behind that is, so on the show, and we have it at the minute, my nonna this, my fucking nonna that, right? Not every nonna can cook. My grandmother couldn't cook. So, but the Italians have this romantic thing, my nonna this.
My nonna is a badass though.
But there is nonna, like one of my favorite shows ever on TV is The Nonnas with Jamie Oliver. I think that's one of the best shows I've watched.
What is it? Nonnas reviewing?
It's just nonnas making their dish, and he just sits and watches. But it's not really him cooking. It's just an honesty. And I was like, some of the dishes, I was like,
yeah, damn. All right. Well, this sort of leads me into the question of, okay, like you said, you can cook the shit out of anyone here in this country, right?
Not
most
anyone,
people.
Most.
Yes.
As can most of my I would say chef mates and friends who I liaise with, like we're at a level of, you know what I mean?
What is the thing that sets you apart? Because I would put you in the top 1% for the average chef here in Australia. What sets you apart? Because you've clearly mastered the cooking side, but you've brought a charisma with you. You've brought a media side too. You've taken risks, which we're going to get into. I want to talk about a lot. What set you apart, perhaps just in the service line?
I was always going to fight my corner. Cooking, I knew I was good. I didn't think I was that good. And then when I sort of made my way up the ranks to get 2 hats in a pub, which was unheard of in Australia, so I was the first ever person to get 2 hats in a pub. And the pressure of trying to deal with that, because everyone's on your back, because you're in a pub and you've got 2 hats. Everyone's out. It's all puppy syndrome's huge. And then you sort of build a casing around yourself. So that's ego as well. And then because I'm I can chat, and I can hold my own and talk shit with anyone. And I think because I am quite funny sometimes, I am I do have a laugh with most people. And I think that's sort of mingled with the TV thing, but not at the start. They wanted the angry guy.
Are you saying that, because what I want to talk to you about later in the podcast is the difference between a business owner and a good chef, right? Because they're 2 very different things, which you've kind of mastered both. Are you saying that your Colin-ness is what helped you be a 1% chef, or is it something to do with your cooking?
No, it's the team around you. You can be a great chef and broke. My wife's in our business, and we had Joe Soleil and Andrew, my other 2 business partners, in the 4 in hand, who knew where every cent was going. Not talking about dollar, every cent, what we were spending, our wages, our food costs. We had a meeting every Monday. We knew, we had the charts. And
by having those partners, you're saying Colin could focus on finally being Colin, which is creative.
I'm the driver in the car. I was going to say Ricardo, but he's not doing very well. I'm whoever's doing. I'm Verstappen, right? But when they pull in the pit, the wheels, that's your team.
Yeah.
You've got someone in the office who does the accounts. You've got your front of house. That's a whole other ball game. That's even more important in the kitchen most of the time, is the front of house and your waiters and your managers. So you've them. You don't think it's all about the chef. The day the chef starts thinking it's all about him, we all know that idiot. You know what I mean? And then they're not around anymore.
Build the team out to let you focus on the stuff you're actually good at.
It's called hospitality, and hospitality is a team.
Correct. All right. Well, the next thing I want to talk about in terms of, yes, you've made it clear, you've done the work as a chef, you've found ways to innovate and build out your team and make this work for you. I want to talk to you about timing, right? I'm not saying that you've build everything you've built out of luck. That's not where this is going, right?
No, it's not, none of it's luck.
None of it's luck. You've definitely done the reps. But where I want to go with this is when it comes to excelling at anything, I've written this here, you're either the first or you're the best or you're both. Now, no doubt there are a lot of great chefs out there. You know them, you respect them, you've seen them, but a lot of them won't ever make it to the stage that you've made it to. And a lot of that is to do, personally, I don't think it's all of it, is timing. You took risks during times where the path wasn't laid out for you. And what I mean by that is, a lot of chefs, they might be thinking, like you said before, damn, the TV does really pay good. I want to be a TV chef. That's awesome. The reason you have the opportunities you do is because you were thinking about this 15, 20 years ago.
Well, I wasn't thinking about it. I was just rogue. In good and a bad way. By the way, not every chef wants to do what I do. A lot of people look down on it as well, as you've sold out.
He's not in the chef line
which is
anymore.
Fine. I used to be like that, but now I'm 50 and I've got 2 teenagers and I'm fucking tired, man. Today's a 14-hour day for me. After this, I'm going into a 14-hour day.
Guys, My Kitchen Rules, the next season is being filmed as we speak.
In an hour.
The cooks are literally cooking right. I did this last year, so I know the time frames. They're in the kitchen right now, and he's off to judge them later. Sorry to interrupt.
I had an attitude like most young chefs did, an ego and an attitude, and I was pretty outspoken and didn't really think of the consequences. And I would fight with people or say whatever. And now I realize there are consequences, and I have gone back and apologized to people that I've said shit about just because I thought I could. Because what shits me now on social media is all these little warriors with
unaccountable people
with no name, just they're an egg, and Blazer 154 can tell you how shit you are, but he has no followers and no name. And I'm like, you're an idiot, bro.
Yeah.
But I do go to town on some of them. But I mean, I was a bit gung ho and a bit rude, as a lot of us were.
But what I mean to say is okay, let's take TV.
And I hit the papers for some of it, and that's how I got known.
Right.
But it could have went the other way, you know what I mean?
My question then is, let me reframe the question, because maybe TV wasn't the right way to approach it. What I mean to say is there's a difference between a chef who just becomes the best chef and stays in that chef lane, and someone who trailblazes and builds a different business. Like I know that you've done, let's say you're doing podcasts with schools, or you're teaching people to cook in masterclasses. There are so many different avenues that you've applied your skill to. That doesn't just come down to you being a good chef. It comes down to you having business acumen.
It's not business acumen. It's about where do you want your life to go, and what do you want to pack into your life. I seen this video once where this guy puts in stones into a glass. They're like, you can't get any more in. Then he puts sand in. Then he puts stone. And I was like, that is, some people just want to cook. That's fine. And there is people who are like, some days I just want to be that guy just cooking, and I don't have to worry about everything else. And then other days I'm standing in the middle of Mongolia, -42, cutting up a reindeer and going, like, where my life has taken me. Like, I'm not, I wouldn't say chef anymore. I'm a food media, which is not just MKR, which is like Food Diaries, which is where we're going around the world after this again, which is the show that every chef wants to do. Sitting in a village, eating scorpions or something with someone, or you know what I mean?
Nonetheless, you're still doing the same thing. You're still sharing food. The whole reason
food and stories.
Colin, when MKR reached out to me, the only reason I said yes, because I still kind of do my own thing, right? I've always done my own thing when it comes to the food. I said, you know what? MKR is just a bigger way that I can spread my love of food. Yeah. I don't care what the avenue is. I don't need to be in a restaurant. I don't need to be on social media. I'll just spread the thing, which is what you do.
And you did all right. We liked you on it because you like, as much as the grief we gave you. But there's people like we do sometimes, to be honest, I can't stand.
You wanted to headbutt them.
And they'll know. We can't say who they were, but anyway. But I've got to give everyone a fair go. But like, we like people who are in there to try, do you know what I mean?
And actually give it a crack.
Yeah. Whereas people are there for the 15 minutes. I'm like, nah.
And you can always tell too.
Everyone can tell.
We're not going to name names. I don't want to get into that part of it, but you can see the people who were serious from last season that are still into food and still doing this, and you can see the people who are.
That's life. Like, some people just think it's a vehicle, but it's, as I will let everyone know, it's not an easy vehicle. It's a lot of hours. It's on the road. You're away from your family. It's like, you're on TV. It's not rock and roll, man. It's like we flew in here at 12. I've just had something to eat with Manu. We've an hour of this, and then I'm working all night, and then I leave at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it is. I've used the words grueling, but grueling doesn't always have to be a negative thing. It's just a long stint of work.
But then don't cry about it. Yeah, I don't cry about it.
You signed up for
next year.
Correct. Okay, I might bookend that little section there, but I kind of wanted to get into the idea and maybe something that you could give to the chefs out there who are comfortable in their skill. What role is taking risks played in your success? Like, you've definitely gone off of the normal track. You have.
Yeah. Well, you got to be very careful. There's risks and there's calculated risks. And the way the economy is at the minute, restaurants is it's not the best business to be in at the minute because no one's got any cash. The house prices are like, you're not going to be able to buy a house, not at this stage. Well, you probably will actually. You probably have a lot of cash.
No comment.
Yeah, but the way it's going, it's not a good time at the minute for families and food. That's why sort of my
nose to tail
social media stuff goes off, because you're cooking cheaper cuts of meat and whatever, because people want to see that.
Correct.
What would I say to young chefs? Just because it's a huge industry of if it's not your passion and you don't love it, it can actually end up killing you. It's one of the highest drugs: suicide, alcohol, depression, which is any job can be depression. But I mean, it's one of those industries that it's grueling. You work late at night, and then after night, that's the problem with chefing, is that when you finish at night, and service is a buzz, if you're passionate about it, they still want that buzz. So they go out late at night, then you start drinking, then you start the rest. And then it turns into a cycle of when you don't stop.
And then you're exhausted and it keeps going.
And then, but if you don't love that job and you hate that job, then they're drinking because they hate that job.
Yeah,
and
correct.
It's one of those jobs that can chew you up and spit you out.
That leads me to my next question, which is what sort of helped you get through the tougher days? How did you not throw in the towel? Because you did the reps, and you did the reps past the 38 hours that's required now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there was days I wanted to. There was days where like you just got bollocked, where you were like, fuck man, I'm not coming back tomorrow. But I couldn't afford to leave. Like, especially in England, that was hardcore.
So you're saying...
I think I did it because I was stubborn. Because I'd had relatives who said I would never do it, and I just proved them wrong because I'm a very stubborn fucking person.
So the motivation came from within. It was never like a...
Oh, but I do. No, that was in the early days. But nowadays, I've got good friends. Like, I've had a few friends who have actually committed suicide, and a few friends who've tried, and friends who've spoke about it, and we're not afraid to talk about it. So I think we're a pretty close community now.
And what's been the general consensus of learning to help the future friends from stopping that from happening?
I think especially when you have kids, like Irish parents, your mother talked to you, but your dads were like the Irish dads. Like they did whatever, but they were hardcore. And I think once I had kids, I said, oh, I'll be more like an Irish mother than an Irish father. So you'll be able to talk to your kids. And
so start the conversation is what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's a very hard thing if you've never been taught that, to suddenly do it. Like you feel a bit like out of your body.
I want to get into that later in the sense of your character development as Colin has probably doubled in speed and velocity and size since having kids. Like it would have been a whole new...
Oh yeah, best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
Well, my wife did.
Yeah.
I was a part in there, but not everything.
That little section of MKR last year when you cried, everyone was like, oh, it's so sweet. That bad boy cries.
Do you know, you can laugh at it, but I was actually talking to man because then Jock had died. And we were sort of putting everything in perspective of if we died, what would be said about you, right? So we've had these chats, and me and man are like, it's not all joking. We do have chats, and we've a lot of time to chat. And we were like, what would your kids say about you if you died tomorrow? And I'm like, mine would be quite positive. Like they would say he's an idiot and cringe. But you know what, mate? We ate every night. Our house was fun. You know what I mean?
And even though, yes, he's on the road at times, he makes sure when he's home, he's giving us as much quality time as possible.
And then when the two girls said about their story of their dad, and I was like, you know, you missed out so much. Like, because he died quite young. Well, they were quite young. And I was like, they've missed out on so much, and what a waste. You know what I mean? Because I try and pack in as much for my kids. Even if they want it or don't want it.
That leads me to, I need to stop saying that leads me to. I'm always trying to jump into the next.
You're like leads me a journey.
Yeah,
you say that,
segue. I'm learning the whole hosting thing. One day I'll get better at this. This was a question for later in the podcast, but your reason why, Colin, has that changed? Can you tell us what your reason why is? Because at the end of the day, we talk about you being in the 1%. Obviously, having made it is one thing, but for humans like us, you'll go to the day you die. You love what you do so much, you'll do this to your death. It doesn't really matter about money or financial gain. Or what I mean to say is, I'm sure your kids are a part of that. What really pushes you during the times where you're like, you know what, fuck, I've been going for 40 fucking years. I've been going for 40 years. I'm good. I'm sorted. Why are you still pushing?
Because number one, I think I've got a little bit of imposter syndrome because I was just started as a chef, like just some bloke cooking in the back somewhere. And then the other thing is, why do I do it? Because I'm very grateful and I know exactly where I am in life. And a lot of people I know are like, fuck, we'd love to be you. And I'm like, it's not all swings and roundabouts, mate. You know, it's not all roses.
Not all that glitters is
There's
gold.
a lot, but I mean, I'm very lucky. I do a job I love. Like it's grinding, but like the next one I travel the world and then I'll do something else. And then me and Manu are doing a show in New Zealand where we're going around the caravan together, just arguing.
Nice.
Like but we're doing different things and we get to choose different jobs all the time. Whereas I appreciate where I am. Whereas a lot of other people on TV shows, hosts, think the shit don't stink.
Are you saying?
And then they're gone.
Are you saying that because of your gratitude, you're willing to put the extra miles in, even if you think you might not need to?
100%.
So you keep going.
I earn it. Like when we rock up to a set, all that crew's been there before me. They're hours before me. The host is a small cog in the wheel, but we get all the gratitude and all the praise.
Dude, the crew on MKR are like soldiers.
But that's most TV shows. It's not about, and if you turn up with attitude, and even to the runners or like to the lowest whoever's getting you coffee, and you're rude to them, mate, that's the height. That's how you're brought up, man. If you're rude to the crew and stuff like that, it's exactly like in a kitchen.
Correct.
I've no time for that, and that's how people are not presenters and shows anymore, because people being divas and drama queens, they don't have time for it.
That's why I'm glad I went on with my mum, because she kept me in check during the times I was exhausted.
She needed to, bro.
So there were times where, I mean, we made some good friends a lot with the staff, the people working, and a lot of that came to our advantage in the long run, but it just really came down to not being a dick. Like
if you're a dick, they have no time for you, because what people forget is these people are doing a job, and the contestants start to think the shit don't stink and start speaking to the crew and clicking fingers. I've seen that happen, and I'm like, mate.
My biggest stress, though, Colin, looking back, like the only times you would have caught me being not rude to people, but like struggling to keep my cool, was just I think to myself, okay, be nice. These people are being paid. They're doing a job, but at least they know where they're going tomorrow. I don't know where I'm going. But then it's like what you said earlier, Marcus, you signed up for this. You signed up for being, that was so, I got to say.
You make the deal with the devil, mate. That's
Colin, I don't remember half of MKR was so stressed. And we did well. And we were a positive team and we were liked by the country. I don't remember it. Like, I was so stressed.
We're on MKR. Is it tonight or tomorrow in New Zealand? And we did 2 series there last year. So that's different to Oz. And then we came back to Oz. And they were talking about contestants to me. And I was like, oh, fuck, I don't remember, man. We've that much stuff going on in that many cities and countries. I'm like, you have to refresh me who that was.
Yeah, it's just, and hectic. Which leads me to my MKR line of questioning. This is an interesting one and a little bit less valuable to the audience and more for me to stroke my own ego. Last season, what was your first impression of me, Colin, if you can remember?
I liked you, but I said, I can be a cat with a mouse here.
What does that mean?
It's like I can play with you.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. And we did.
What the cameras didn't see is, so whenever...
We used to give him a little slap every now and then.
So the TV would never have shown you. So obviously there's the cool moment in the MKR episodes where Colin and Manu walk in, there's the rock star music, they're awesome. And then it cuts to a shot of them sitting down. What the show never showed you is on their way to their seat, bop, smack Marcus in the head. And then I'd go to duck and then Colin would bop, smack me in the head all
and
the
then
time.
we had Sonia Marcus's mum chatting us up. And then we would just lean into that and he hated that.
And I would always say to Mum.
Big shout out to Mum.
Yeah. Mum, if you're watching this, yeah. I would always say to Mum, remember, we're here for a competition. They're humans just like us. And if you want to do anything like them, you need to take this seriously. They're just humans. We got to play the game, win this competition.
She wanted a bit of Colin and Manu dessert. Tell you that now.
Point of the matter is that anytime Colin...
See, how's your question backfiring
Colin and Manu could have farted and Mum would have been happy about it. And I was just trying to stay focused on the comp, but yeah. Anyway, next question about me, Colin, and then we're going to move on. From what you remember, Mum and I came third, Ryder and Prabha won, Nick and Christian came second. What could I have done to improve how Mum and I went in that show? I know our trajectory was we did much better when we worked as a team, but the food, what were we missing, Colin? Prowess? Was it?
I think maybe it was a bit of, I don't know really what you were doing. Look good.
I think there
was a couple of meltdowns in the I think you didn't always have a plan B. You had a plan A, and when plan A went to shit, you went to shit. Remember,
Correct.
like you squidding pasta,
the pasta disaster.
You were going to have a little cry, and then I helped you, and then which probably wasn't on camera, but you just got to calm people down. And it's a long day, and it's it's like you have a bad service, but the bad service there is you get kicked off.
Correct.
And I wouldn't say you needed to diversify your food because Rad and Prabhat did what they did, and they won. I don't know.
No, you make a good point because the redemption round proves what you're saying. When we knew to not stress the heck out, we did all right in the second round.
It's the look of the draw, man. It's good. You can be good on something you make all the time, and then the next day, because of the stress, it goes wrong, and then you don't have a plan. Plan B usually works out better than plan A.
Based on what we can and can't say, Colin, from a production perspective, one thing I remember is on that night of the pasta disaster where I'm freaking out about my pasta. I remember the next day I checked your Instagram and I looked at your Instagram story. Also, if you guys don't follow Colin on Instagram and TikTok, he's told me that I need to give him a shout out. So this is it here.
Shout out, Steve. I need to get 1 million to be
C Fassnidge.
C Fassnidge. CFASSNIDGE on Insta.
I look at your Instagram story, Colin.
And what did I say?
Remember, it's the next day. I'm exhausted. I'm stressed. I'm almost traumatized by how stressed I was. I look at your story and you're sitting in my bedroom reviewing kettle chips. That's what you're doing while I'm stressing my balls off.
You got it wrong. They weren't kettle chips. They were Red Rock
Deli.
There we go. And it was my brand. And me and Manu were trying out my new brand of chips and we went through your drawers as well in your bedroom.
Great. What'd you find?
We found a sock under your bed.
So the point I'm getting at there is, obviously, like you said, it's
that's your drama. It's not my drama.
Yeah,
I'm like the school teacher. You're all in the schoolyard, right? That's what it is. Every year I turn up, I'm a school teacher. Johnny might be poking you in the eye. That's not my problem, mate. You just turn up for English, and that's all I care about.
Correct. Fair. Okay. How did you feel about the last season of MKR overall? And I've written here, why do you think last season broke so many records? That was a record-breaking season.
I think last season was one of the best because I was doing Kitchen Nightmares before that, and they said, "Can you come back and do MKR?" And I said, I'm not really sure I want to do it." I'd rather just do nightmares. Because there had been a few years before where it was all about, there was a lot, it was turning into maths, and they knew it was turning into maths. And then there was some horrible stuff went on, and my wife wouldn't let my kids watch it. So when I signed up to do it, I said, if me and Manny were going to do it, like we were 49 then, so I said, we're coming up to 50. We got to have fun. We got to make it fun, and I got to make it show that my kids can watch. So I think last year we turned that corner and we brought it back to what it was years ago when it first started, and it was all about families and stories, and even I cried, fucking hell. But it was just great food, and like there's always going to be a bit of that, bit of this, but
drama.
We turned it around. Like there was nights we'd be like, mate, we're not in the mood for this. You know, it's about the food, and I think it turned back into what it was. And after COVID, people don't want nasty as much as people watch that shit show Married at First Sight. Like that is just a cesspool of. But
does my head in.
What we did was we turned it back to nice, mostly nice. And fun, and people watching TV going, oh, I could cook that.
I like that. There was a level of authenticity, especially from the teams that were being themselves. Between you and me, Colin, and this isn't to poke the bear or anything like that, some of the contestants would argue that, you know, they might not have liked their portrayal. And I've had these conversations with them, and I've come up with a response that I feel I believe in, right? Obviously, like you saw, Mum and I did great in that show, right? The audience liked us. We were the sweet mother and son. And I remember the first time I was watching it, I was looking at me being, obviously, whatever was edited or put out there was what I gave them, right? So there's nothing unreal about it. But I remember watching that first half of the season, I was like, oh shit, I'm the bumbling little kid idiot that Colin and Manu just want to smack and da-da-da-da-da. And then I thought to myself, holy crap, I understand how this story works. So obviously the long story was Mum and I were redeemed. We finally worked as a team and we did well, right? What I came to terms with was, however the show needs to edit each character, even if you'd have times where you've been edited in a way that you weren't expecting. Oh, yeah. Right?
In the early days, yeah. But my point is, right? Yeah.
Whatever the show needs to do to tell a better story, to get people emotionally engaged, I'm okay with if it spreads the message of food.
Because I sit there some nights and someone will say something and I'm like, that's the ad, mate. You said it.
You fell into the trap.
You said something stupid. And the problem is, which is, I'm going to tell you all now, there is editing. Of course there's editing. They have TV. To edit a show. Yeah. They've got to compress it. Everyone starts drinking piss and wine, and then they drop their guard. And then you look at us, and we're not drinking piss and wine at the table. We might have a whiskey out the back somewhere or later on, but we are 100% in the game. That's our job. We're paid to turn up.
Correct.
You guys are like, it's Christmas dinner, and everyone starts getting pissed and saying stuff.
That's us.
And I say to them, mate, yeah, you have a drink, but it's a long process, and the next day is long, and then the next day is long, and then they just get a bit over it, and then they're getting tired, they're getting pissed every night. Then they start getting catty, and then they forget where they are because they become so familiar.
And suddenly there's a TV show.
Every time you look around, someone's grabbing a bottle of wine, and you're like, well, you're just an idiot, mate.
That's why I'm glad my mum was there.
Yeah, it's like having Christmas dinner every day. Yeah. Like not everyone gets along at Christmas dinner.
Correct.
And they can't edit in if you didn't say it.
My point of the matter is I'm willing to, the redemption was worth more because of me and mum's arguing.
Yeah,
that's what I mean to say.
It's good to do with your mum.
Correct. Dealing with public opinion, especially in an age of unaccountable feedback, which you've talked about, I will say I've done social media my whole life. I've had a lot of followers for a very long time, and I was pretty bulletproof on the most part for being introduced to the TV side of things.
Oh, yeah.
I will say, Colin and I was new to this. You're not. I've been attacked on YouTube. I've been attacked on Instagram. I've been attacked on TikTok, Facebook, from TV. I don't know if this is something that you can relate to. The comments from TV people are far more like...
Oh, it's a cesspool.
Oh, it was... How do you deal with that? How did you get through...
Well, you see, the problem is with TV is there should be sort of a handbook they give you, even as a host or a contestant, that says, and it was only early days when I was starting, but it was like, you don't really, like, if you're fucking halfway depressed, if you, like, imagine 2 million people watch the show, which they used to, and 1 million are sending you hate. If you're fucking anyway depressed, you'll yourself. And that's what a lot of people have done, you know? I've had fucking your wife, I'll burn down your house, I'll your kids over a fucking chocolate fondant. And
really?
I've gone to the police and they said, oh, there's nothing we can do, mate. There's no laws. And I said, oh, well, if I find the person who said it,
will I go to jail if I fucking...
I will go to jail.
Yeah.
Someone touches my kid, man.
Yeah.
Like not a parent in Australia would in the world. And the cops are like, oh, that you just threaten physical violence. I said, mate, if someone says they're going to your kid, and I'm like, this is because I'm on a cooking show, but no one let me into that world. And I think I sort of tell the contestants, I might have told you this all last year, be careful what you read online, because there's people out there with just a number and you can't find them. I recently found someone who said some shit about me, and I actually put it in LinkedIn, and I found his name because he didn't have it was private, and he worked for a media company, and I sent the media company what he said, and
accountability.
He was straight on to me. His phone, he rang me, like he sent his number and was
to apologize.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm like, you're not sorry, mate. It's just because I called you out. But I was like, my wife was like, wow, you're like a dog with a bone.
I was going to say, I'm surprised that Colin Fassnidge, of all people, who is a very busy person, as we've seen today, has time to fuck around like that.
Yeah, and I showed my daughter everything I did and how I found him. And I went to his boss, who was it was about inspiring in media and all this. And I'm like, does this inspire you? That's all I said, and sent his comments. And I showed my daughter and I said, every bully can be taken down.
Yeah, correct.
Like,
nice.
And you can't, but it's more about my daughters sitting in their bedrooms, because it's happened before where bullying happens and you don't know about it because it's behind a closed door. I'm like, you come tell me and you can take down every bully. You don't have to sit alone. Like a lot of children who
try and figure it out themselves and don't have a solution.
Up, like killing themselves because some fucking grub is at the other end who has no.
I had to really help my mum, and she was on the mostly receiving end of good stuff, but for the little bit of hard part, she struggled.
10 good bits and one bad one. You think about the bad one and you go to bed at night and you're like, oh, am I that person?
But it passes so quickly too. You'll find in between seasons the comments go right back down, and it's only the C-fastabators that love you that are.
Well, no, because once MKR finishes, then I do food diaries.
Oh yeah, I'm relevant 100% of the time.
Then I do Better Homes and Gardens, and then I do New Zealand. So it's sort of consistent.
Actually, I watched you the other night. You cooked up a fish. It's the first time I've watched TV since MKR.
Oh, the fish stuck to the barbecue. Actually.
Yeah, I saw that, and then
that's that's real life.
Nose to tail. I want to talk to you about that. Maybe we'll move on from MKR and then we'll finish this with life stuff. Nose to tail, I want to touch on just because I think it's a really important cooking skill for one, especially in the world we live in today with Australia. Do you want to talk to us about why you became such an advocate, what it means to you, and what message you're trying to send with it?
All right. I wouldn't say we were poor. We weren't poor, but we lived in an area that was definitely not a well-to-do area. It's actually looked down upon in Dublin now, in Tala.
Look down upon us in like socioeconomic.
Yeah. And it's sort of where most people in Ireland I know who do well come from these areas to just like
make the most
Conor
of whatever
McGregor
you've got.
from Crumlin, Barry Cowan from in Dublin went to my school because you're told you're never going to be anything and you're in an area that people look down upon. Don't worry, I moved to another area when I was 7 called Castleknock, which is actually a higher, beautiful area. And that's another connotation, you're living there. So I went from there to there because my old man worked his arse off and just fucking worked and paid bills and bought us a house. And the food-wise we didn't have a lot of money. So we ate a lot of secondary cuts like liver and braised and stews, and so that's where my love of it came.
So because you'd learned to, like, let's say I've eaten a lot of offal-esque stuff because my nonna was an immigrant. She didn't have
but I grew up with it, so
you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's like you see, kids in Japan just eating raw fish, and that's what you're brought up with. So there was nothing wrong with me. It's later on it became sort of a dirty word, and people were just eating fillet steaks, and they wouldn't eat anything else. And then I was a big fan of Fergus Henderson from St. John. He's a hero of mine, and his book is proper nose to tail, and that's sort of my part. I said, well, how can I stand out, do what I love, but be different to every other fucker who's just cooking fillet steak? Like, I don't want to cook a fillet steak. I've no interest in eating a fillet steak because it's just mush.
If you guys are new to cooking and don't know exactly what we're talking about, based on my limit, I'm not a chef, but based on my cooking understanding, nose to tail is essentially making the most of whatever your ingredients are. It could be an animal, so using their bones, using their, not the thing, like obviously when you eat a chicken, you think thighs, breast, wings, and drumsticks. Colin's way of cooking is how can we make the most and honor this chicken to the point where every single bit of it is used, not just for sustainability, but also for adventure and further flavor. Am I on the money there?
Yeah, and how can you show your cooking prowess with cuts that other people wouldn't use? And also, if you've ever killed an animal, which I've gone to farms and actually held a pig down and killed it, it's a big... You've just taken a life.
You want to make the most of that fucking thing.
It's a different, and it's a great for chefs to go to abattoirs.
Abattoir.
Like where they kill animals.
Oh, right.
What do you call it?
I don't know. Abattoir. Slaughterhouse.
Yeah, abattoir.
Abattoir.
I've been to farms and spent a night with cows in a farm. It was a good project, actually. And then the next day, the cows go on the truck. They train them to get on the trucks, like for weeks. So you don't want to stress them out. They bring them, they fucking spray water on them. They go through a door, see you later. Bolt in the head.
So part of your nose to tail is out of respect for the animal then? Because if you're going to kill it, you may as well...
Yes, but and when you see the animal get shot in the head and then the guy cut it in half, that's a horrible job as well. Guy cut it in half and all the bits, you're like, wow. So why would you shoot that animal in the head?
Throw it in the bin.
And then throw it in the bin? Like,
Correct.
That's, you know what I mean? Otherwise, just eat vegetables.
And not just that, let's talk about the economic side, which is why I'm glad that you're spreading the message, because it's only getting worse when it comes to cost of goods, and that's why nobody wants to cook. And if your goal is to get people cooking, it's how can I do it affordably?
I don't need to do Instagram cooking videos. Do you know what I mean? I'm not like you. You know what I mean? That's your job, bro. I've got 6 jobs that pay. Instagram doesn't pay me.
But you're doing it why?
I do it because I know how hard I get people stop me in the street and go, you cook this dish that costs $2 and I fed my family. And I'm like, that's why I'm here. And it tasted good too. Yeah, but I'm like, that's why I'm here, right? Now, as a 50 with two kids, I'm like, that's why I'm here. It's not about, I don't care about the glamour TV. Like, I'm in bed at fucking 10 o'clock every night. And I did a dish with lamb necks roasted on the bone. My butcher sold out a lamb necks the next day. He's like, can you give me a bit of a heads up? And he goes, because the thing cost them $6 and they fed the family. And it's just about spreading knowledge. And that's what it's about. It's about that one chef who taught you that one bit of knowledge. So that's my sort of thing now, is to pass on. I don't need to sit at my kitchen table and talk about whatever. But if I'm making dinner, I'm like, why not share it?
For people who are starting out in cooking and want to save money, where do you direct them? Where do you want them to look? What should they be focusing on?
Buy cookery books. Like, you don't have to buy El Bulli and forget about that shit.
What's El Bulli?
Like making food with chemicals, you know, molecular.
Yeah.
Buy like a St. John's cookery book or a Nigella book or a Jamie. Like they've all got nuggets of whatever, and make a recipe and then make your own recipe out of it. Buy cookery books. And write down your own recipes. And when you cook a recipe, write it down and you've got your own book in your kitchen.
Which starts by just giving it a crack, guys. A lot of people, they worry about being too
not
perfect.
Everything. Like, no, the only reason that restaurants work is because everything we did failed, and you change the dish till it works.
Correct. All right, that leads us to the final gauntlet of this, so you can get free and get to judging people in MKR.
I'm gonna have a shower and a half an hour sleep.
Section 6. Life.
So talking about sex. I go back. I'm married with 2 kids. That only happens at Christmas.
Yeah, nice. Life lessons and wisdom. Okay, let's give some final tips to the people before we let them go. What's the greatest piece of advice you've received over your lifetime, Colin?
To fail.
Break it down for me. I know you kind of touched on it because you learned from it, but someone actually said, "Hey, Colin, you need to go fail," or you learned by failing.
I was talking to someone and I said, like, I think I lost the chef's hat. I had one hat. I lost, but I got 2. But I lost one, and I spoke to a very good friend of mine who's not actually here anymore. He actually committed suicide. And I still lost it. He's like, who gives a shit, mate? The sun comes up in the morning, sun still sets, like, awards will come and go. You'll be back. And I did come back even stronger, and he left the world. So that's sort of a good wake up call.
So keep on keeping on, regardless of what the verdicts of the keeping on is.
Just keep being realistic to life. Like, shit ain't always going to go your way, and you can't blame everyone. And like, this time next year, you're in a hole. It could be, you know, you're on top of the world the next year.
True. Is there anything you wish you had done more of when you were younger? Or you would have spent a lot of it working. I'm 23.
I spent most of my youth when I got like late teens in kitchens, just in kitchens. I didn't see anything. And I wouldn't change it actually because I loved it.
Mm.
I fucking loved working in kitchens. Like you're part of this. It's like being part of a football team or something. And if you're on a great football team, it's great.
Get the task done, keep going.
Well, it's a lifestyle, and then you just live with these people. You go out with these people. You do everything together. And that's hospitality.
I feel like I'm right in the middle of this right now. Like I work 7 days a week. It sounds like I'm saying that to be sexy, like I'm some workhorse, but genuinely, like the amount I work is ridiculous. And my friends say it to me all the time. Like I'm never around. I try and manage.
Still need to keep your friends though.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
the
what's
thing.
the point of doing it all if you don't have anyone to share it with? And
You got to balance, but then no one gives you nothing for nothing. You got to work hard as well.
correct.
I meet people and they go, "Oh, you fucking made this and you did this and you're,"
And that's all you have to do. It's
and
like you don't know what it took me to
you're a
get
wanker.
here.
I'm like, mate, do you know, I worked my arse off for years. I didn't see sunlight.
But what? Okay, you've said the words. You loved it, and I love what I do. Right,
Not all the time though.
Correct. What got you through the times you didn't? Other than your ego and proving to people, like what you said earlier.
I think it was just that's the job, mate. It's like I'm not saying it's the same as being a soldier or whatever. Or I'm not, because don't send it in the hate comments because you get that. But people like that, that's your job, and you've got to turn up. And there's other people relying on you. It's a big thing is about other people relying on you. You're a chain, part of a link in a chain, and if you go missing, it upsets the whole chain.
Speaking of things that rely on you, what do you wish for your kids? What about your childhood do you wish for them to experience? And what about your childhood do you wish for them to avoid?
I think my kids have already experienced like great food, laughs around the table. Like we have good times, and that's all I ever want for my kids. After school, whatever they want to do. I like my wife obviously is the sort of, I would say, the bad cop. I'm the good cop. She's harder on homework and but I'm like, I hated school, and I would hate for my kids to have what I had in school. I hated it. I still have nightmares about school.
So you don't care what trajectory that, like my parents have always said, when I got a really high ATAR, so I did quite well in school. I dropped out of uni to start my business. My parents' only response was, as long as you give it a hard crack, we don't care what you do.
When I wanted to be a chef, it was the shittest job ever. And they said, well, if you're going to, you go work for some of the best chefs then.
Yeah, like, you make sure you just do it properly.
Give it 110%.
Same with
whatever
your girls
my kids do, one said she wants to be a vet. We'll see how that goes. The other one wants to go into making clothes or whatever. I'm like, you do whatever you want to do, man.
Just give it a crack.
And if you fail at it, do something else, and we'll still be here for you.
Yeah, nice. Finally, what's your biggest life skill or life trait that you would recommend that all audiences, don't just talk to the chefs here, anyone who wants to achieve big things in their life, you can say, yeah, go fail. What's the thing that they should really focus on?
Don't do what you're told. Like the only reason I did well is because I questioned everything. And I just because someone says that's the way it has to be done, I go, nah, I'm going to do it the other way. Not all the time, but sometimes there's a little voice in your head goes, no, you can do it another way. You don't have to go down that motorway. Sometimes you can go around the back road. And I've always done that. Like people have said the road to success is this, and I would go, because something in my head straight away tells me, and usually when that kicks in, I know that's the right one. So listen to the voice in your head. And
even if it leads you down the wrong path.
Oh, sometimes you end up in a dodgy house at 5 a.m. and it's like the sun's coming up and you're dead, man. You're in a world of pain.
If you are led down the wrong path, that doesn't mean stop doing it. It means just learn from it. And like you said, if you fail, then you don't want to do that again and you move on.
Yes, but just take the side roads, man. You don't have to go down the boring highway. That's what I would say.
Colin, I'm happy with everything. Is there anything you want to say to the audience? Is there anything that they should look forward to? My Kitchen Rules this season.
I would say, look at, like, you know what I mean? A year on, Judge and ex-contestants, and he rings me and I go, I've got an hour, and I give him my time that I don't have, and I'd say, it's not, TV is not what you think.
TV is not what you think.
Yeah.
What should people look forward to in this season? Let's promote MKR right now. Let's make them some money.
We've just done... They're making them money. make me some money.
Oh, they do too. Yep.
It's better on this side than that side. That's what I would say. Hey?
Oh, yep. I know.
See this side?
Yeah.
I would say we've had one restaurant already, and fuck, man, it's firing. Like, not in a bad way, but just, I was like, wow. I would sit and watch this.
Guys, we might be on for a better season of MKR than last year, and we broke records last year.
I think this is a better season.
Already
from one, because I was like, wow. We've got some.
My Kitchen Rules 2024. Make sure to tune in. See Fassnidge on TikTok. He Sweet Baby Jesus is his way to really
Sweet
nice
Baby
recipes.
Jesus, see Fassnidge, TikTok and Instagram. Get on there now. Give me some numbers.
All right, that's the podcast. Good work, man.
Thanks, man.
That was kick-ass.